What's up, guys? Zach Brunner from Flurry Sports here. Hope your Thanksgiving was nice. Hope you got some good food, maybe some good online deals. But now, let's talk about the fantasy football snap counts from Week 13. We still have Monday Night Football to be played, recording this Sunday night after that Sunday Night Football game. A good finish. We actually got a good finish to a Sunday Night Football game, which is nice to see. A lot of injuries around the league, so different and bye weeks as well, getting thrown in, some short weeks for some teams. So a lot of interesting snap counts, how teams are playing now towards the end of the year. Obviously, there's some teams that are mathematically out, coach firing, stuff like that. So there's a lot of shakeups in mentality, in terms of personnel, in terms of a lot of things. So heading into Week 14 could be a playoff week for you already for your fantasy football league. If not, Week 15 obviously will be that playoff week for you. So it's good to take a look at the snap counts here, compare them to how the actual fantasy football stats turned out, to figure out usage, to figure out how teams are actually playing right now. Link in the description if you want to get my opportunity index that measures overall opportunity for teams or for players to earn fantasy points in terms of targets, in terms of snaps, in terms of a bunch of different things, average depth of target. So now is the time to manage your bench for the fantasy football playoffs. Who is worth holding on to? Who does not need to be on your team? Who's never going to see your starting lineup? And if you want any help in doing so, again, joining the membership is the best way to have access to me 24 hours today and a bunch of stats and good stuff like that. Plus, I will add any other stats that you want to see. My plan is to add a bunch of stuff for fantasy football, playoff stuff, and adding stuff for the NFL playoffs in terms of betting, because there's some very good stats for that. I will be adding that, but if you have any other questions, anything like that, let me know. Comments below. Definitely like and subscribe and ask any fantasy questions you have. But let's just jump into the snap counts here. Long rambling intro, and that's because I don't think there's a ton to go over. We will cruise through this. This whole article, again, will be linked in the description, but go to flurrysports.org for this and a bunch of other good stuff. But we will cruise through this. We'll highlight some notable things if we need to. Packers-Lions here starting this off. So Josh Jacobs returns to the lineup. Jaden Reed will probably return next week, if not the week after that. So a little bit more shaking up in the receiving core coming. But overall, in terms of running back, we got Josh Jacobs leading the way. And we got Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson 1 and 2 here. Chris Brooks is the guy who likes to do a lot of stuff without the ball in terms of pass protection, in terms of running routes. So if it's a close game, oftentimes Chris Brooks will be playing. Emmanuel Wilson's more of the running back. So that's why that's happening there. It's not like Brooks usurped Wilson. If Josh Jacobs was to miss any further time, Wilson is that dude. In terms of the Lions are beat up, and then now Amon-Ra exited this game very early. They play on Thursday this week. There's a chance he plays. If he doesn't play this week, I expect him back in Week 15, so he's not out long-term. Decent chance he plays this week, I think, given where the Lions are in terms of must-win mode, and he's a tough guy. He'll play through injuries and stuff like that. Without Sam Laporta, without Brock Wright, obviously Ross Dwelly was the one who played tight end, but they used Tom Kennedy a lot as a big body in there, and that is interesting to see. If Amon-Ra misses any further time, Tom Kennedy played extremely well, and Isaac Tesla is also another big-bodied guy, so keep that in mind. Chiefs-Cowboys, Isaiah Pacheco returned to the lineup. It was a 40-20 split between Hunt and Pacheco, and that is about it. Chiefs in must-win mode, so given they are in must-win mode, expect to see a ton of Travis Kelce. Dallas Cowboys, really nothing here whatsoever. Straight down the line, what you know is what happened. Bengals, Ravens, Joe Burrow returned to the lineup with all three of these Thanksgiving games. I mean, the rest absolutely took over. In terms of this one, refs were very excited to see Joe Burrow back in the lineup. No T. Higgins, but Jamar Chase obviously was back this week. Andre Yosevich is the one operating as that wide receiver 2 in terms of the actual role. But they're really not using him at all. It's Mitch Tinsley who sees more usage than him in terms of targets and stuff like that. Mike Gesicki is back as well. He ended up playing the third most snaps out of the 3 tight ends, but he seems to be the best pass catcher of the 3 in terms of role as a pass catcher. So that is going on there. People don't understand football when they criticize how the Ravens are using their running backs here, in my personal opinion. Nothing has changed, not one little thing. So I've seen on Twitter quite a bit, oh, can you believe John Harbaugh's using their fourth string running back over Derrick Henry? He's just playing the Justice Hill mode or role. Justice Hill's out. So Ravens were trailing in this game. Derrick Henry's not that great of a pass catching running back. He's not running routes. He doesn't know how to do that. Derrick Henry's an outstanding running back, but he's not a receiver. Keaton Mitchell, he's a shifty small guy, so it seems like he should be a receiver, but he's not. Rasheen Ali is just playing that Justice Hill role. I keep saying mode. He's the receiving back. He's the one catching passes. He's the one pass blocking. So Ravens were chasing points. So he was one who played most of the snaps. Otherwise, receivers, we got Rashad Bateman back in the lineup. Obviously, he didn't get any points, but he's wide receiver 2 there. And tight ends are both playing a bunch. Bears and Eagles, nothing notable to take away. Running backs, even split. They both played really well. Tight ends continues to be an even split when Cole Kmet is healthy. Colson Loveland, like I have said, every single week, I don't trust his role. I don't trust him for fantasy football because, hey, he's not a majority snap guy. He's a 50-50 guy. Some weeks it'll go his way. Some weeks it won't. If you're relying on him for fantasy football, I advise you not to do so. Eagles, nothing to take away. If Saquon Barkley was to miss any time, I believe it'll be Tank Bigsby as that majority ball carrier, not Will Shipley, not A.J. Dillon. So if you are looking to handcuff Saquon Barkley, which does seem to be a very smart thing to do, given the Eagles as a team, given the Eagles schedule. So if you have Saquon Barkley, I do advise you to hold on to Tank Bigsby. Niners, Browns, Christian McCaffrey continues to be good. He plays majority of the snaps. Brian Robinson Jr. continues to be a little bit involved. And then pass catchers, you don't really trust anybody other than George Kittle at the current moment. You certainly don't trust Ricky Pearsall. Juwan Jennings is probably the highest usage of the wide receivers. Browns, Dylan Sampson, the second rookie here. Quinton Judkins played about half the snaps. He's the early down guy. Dylan Sampson's that change of pace receiving back, who I think is really, really good as well. He left with a calf injury in the third quarter and did not return. So monitor him for next week. If he is to miss, Jerome Ford will play a decently sized role, I would say. Harold Fannin continues to dominate the snaps for the tight ends right now, and he scored. He's looking really good with that. Otherwise, receivers, I don't think this passing offense is good enough to trust any of them, but Cedric Tillman is that wide receiver too. He's just not really doing anything. Jags and Titans, an ugly game here, an ugly game. Brian Thomas Jr. returned to the lineup, played the second most snaps. Jacoby Myers is the easy throw. He's getting good separation, everything like that. He may be the most valuable wide receiver the rest of the way. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. is the big play threat. But notable, Austin Trammell played over Parker Washington. So Parker Washington, he was a nice little trendy pickup with Brian Thomas out, especially before Jacoby Myers joined the team. But he can be dropped. He can be straight up dropped, I think. Running backs, I don't understand the Bashal Tutin praise. I said that on stream a couple times last week and the week before, I think. If Travis Etienne is to go down, I like Tutin as a handcuff. I think he'd have a really large role. But in terms of playing him as a flex or something like that, which I see a lot of people saying to do, that seems extremely foolish. And then Brenton Strange, I continue to praise him. I love him as a talent. I love his role. And he found the end zone this week. So if you are needing a tight end, definitely go pick him up. Titans, potentially, yeah, but nobody needs to be owned on the Titans. End of story. Texans, Colts. Woody Marks dominates snaps still. Nick Chubb played a few more, I think, than average, but Woody Marks is the guy there. End of story. Jaden Higgins continues to be the clear wide receiver too. Hutchinson played a bunch of snaps, though, and Dalton Schultz is back playing a bunch of snaps as well. Colts, Tyler Warren suffered and played and fought through an illness, but he had a good game, still played almost all the snaps. Alec Pierce is still the one playing the most snaps out of the wide receivers. And he, scoring against the Texans as an outside receiver is big. Big. He played very well. Saints and Dolphins, Devin Neal, as expected, was the leading running back in this game. No Elvin Kamara. Devin Neal took the majority of the snaps. and notably took all of the pass catching snaps. I thought that was interesting and good to see. So, I mean, in terms of role, you can trust his role, I think. And then Evan Hull was the one activated off the practice squad as the running back 2 for the Saints. That seemed to be a little bit of a surprise. I assumed they would do Audric Estime. He just seems like the more clear, obvious, complementary player in terms of skill set to Devin Neal. But this also is the coaching staff that I touted as the absolute worst in the NFL, and I still stand by that. Evan Hull, though, interesting player. I actually like him as a player. I think he's a decent pass catcher as well. Played 0 pass catching snaps. So, yeah, monitor him going forward. If you were in a deep league dynasty league, I still think he's a decent player, but probably needs to be unowned. And then Devaughn Vele, I talked about him a few times over the past couple of weeks as well. This is a guy that the Saints want to feature. They traded for him before the season started, I do believe, and gave up a decent amount for him. An older, inexperienced player. So he's raw and has a lot to go through, but he has the skills. He has the body type to be a very, very good player. So a very, very interesting pickup down the stretch of the season, I think. And then Taysom Hill, weirdly, barely played and carried the ball one time. He should be playing more, but it seems like we can't trust his role. Dolphins, nothing notable other than Darren Waller returned and played decently. That's it. Falcons, Jets. Falcons, no Drake London in this game, so David Sills continued to play the second most wide receiver snaps. Dylan Drummond played a little bit, but nothing notable there. Jets, Breece Hall played, I believe, his largest snap share of the season so far. He is really dominating snaps there. For why? For no good reason, truthfully. Jets should be losing games, and they are, but I mean, they should be actively trying to lose and should be trying to keep Breece Hall healthy. Receiving core, no Garrett Wilson, obviously. Mechie leads the way. Adonai Mitchell, second most snaps. He was the most valuable of the pass catchers in this one. A little bit of weather, so I was surprised to see him being the more valuable player, considering he's more of a downfield threat. But truthfully, he's a really, really good talent. So if he can put it all together for the Jets, like, he is very interesting for dynasty and next year for redraft. Cardinals, Bucks, no Trey Benson, and notably, he was limited Wednesday, did not practice Thursday or Friday. To me, that sounds like a setback. So that is something to watch. If he has a setback, we may not see him the rest of the year. So very, very interesting there. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. Returned to the lineup this week, and he ended up having a heel injury in the fourth quarter and did not return. So on top of the appendectomy that he just had a heel injury, something to watch for next week. If you are a Michael Wilson owner, obviously you're crossing your fingers that he does miss, because clearly when Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the lineup whatsoever, Michael Wilson is not even thought about being used. Like, he is not used whatsoever. And then if Trey Benson misses, I mean, this is how the running back split looks right now. And Bam Knight is clearly the most valuable, even though he's playing a little less than half the snaps. Bucks, Bucky Irving returned to the lineup and played the majority of the snaps and looked good, played well. So if you own him, fire away. You've waited this long, go ahead. Sean Tucker fully can be dropped. With Bucky Irving there, Rashad White's the complimentary guy there. Chris Godwin played a lot of snaps, looked good, so hopefully he can string that together and continue to build upon that for the rest of the season. Rams, Panthers, a little bit of a shock here, but the Panthers pulling off another upset. Good for them. Nothing notable, I would say, from the Rams. Obviously, we know Tyler Higbee is out, so Colby Parkinson is leading the way for tight ends there. And Kyren Williams played 66, had like a 2/3 to 1/3 split between him and Blake Corum. Notable. Panthers, over the past couple of weeks, man, they've been using Chuba Hubbard more than Rico Dowdle. In this game, you can't even say it's because they were chasing points. So if you are a Rico Dowdle owner, he is a flex at best. He goes from running back 1 to running back 1 to running back 2 to flex. He is not necessarily startable next week. He is no longer a must start. He's very much a debate going forward. And if you held on to Chuba Hubbard, Like, I'm probably ranking Chuba Hubbard ahead of Rico Dowdle next week because Chuba's a better receiving back. And if they get the same number of carries, then whatever, man. So that is shitty to see. To be honest, Jalen Coker's coming alive a little bit in the receiving core, but I wouldn't expect more than 4 targets for him. Running backs, both running backs for the Vikings got banged up in this game, so that is something we need to watch going forward. And then receivers, I don't know. JJ McCarthy might be back next week. Does that mean anything? It's probably an improvement over Brosmer. I don't know. Brosmer targeted TJ Hawkinson, but receiving core snaps, nothing to take away. Seahawks, nothing to take away. Same old, same old. Buffalo Bills. So interesting receiving core updates, I suppose. Brandon Cooks was added to this team. I think he's a decent player who can still play. He ended up playing 17 snaps. I think he caught 1 ball or something. Not overly used. Keon Coleman returned to the game, returned to the lineup this week, played 33 snaps. Honestly, other than Khalil Shakir, I don't think you need to own anybody. And then Dalton Kincaid missed another game. They ran a lot of 12 personnel in this game. They just needed to run the football. They weren't really passing the football. With Dalton Kincaid back, he will still play the 3rd most snaps out of the tight ends when he comes back, but he's clearly the most valuable for fantasy. Yeah, nothing huge to take away. I mean, everyone's numbers, receiving wise, passing wise, all of that was down just because they were pounding the rock because that's how they were able to beat the Steelers. Steelers couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the easy duo play that they just kept running over and over and over. Steelers, they didn't run many plays, so there isn't a ton to take away. Darnell Washington, I think, is the clear top tight end choice going forward. Yeah, he needs to catch a little bit better. Once he gets the ball in his hand, he's pretty electric just because you can't bring him down. Receiver-wise, DK Metcalf is at best a wide receiver 3. Like, I don't think he's that great of a talent in general. Everyone knows my opinion on DK Metcalf dating back to as far back as you want to go. I'm not a fan. And then the wide receiver 2 is non-existent there. Running backs, they should both be a little bit better than what they showed this week. Jalen Warren got a touchdown, obviously. Kenneth Gainwell, like everyone's saying, oh, he fell back to earth. It's just because the Steelers didn't have that many plays. He had a ridiculous catch. I expect both of them to be decently involved going forward. They play the Ravens next week, so look for them to just try to run the football. Raiders, Chargers, no Chip Kelly, so a little bit different stuff on offense. You still really can't trust how they're using these receivers just because of that. They should never play Tyler Lockett. He should be cut from this team just because he has no future. There's no reason for him to be on this team. If he's on this team, he should be a mentor. Take notes from Adam Thielen, who was just released, but still. Ashton Genty dominated snaps after an ankle injury last week. Trey Tucker is the wide receiver 1. We can trust that. Brock Bowers is the tight end 1. We can trust that. No Michael Mayer in this game, a little bit notable. I think that might be more of the reason why Jack Besh played so much without the Michael Mayer role there. But hopefully they use both of their rookie wide receivers a little more going forward just to see if we can get anything consistent out of either of them. Dante Thornton, however, suffered a concussion in the 4th quarter, so decent chance he will not play next week. Chargers, no Amari Hampton still. Decent chance he returns next week. Kamani Vidal dominated snaps and looked good. Receivers, they continue to be very predictable in terms of snaps and unpredictable in terms of output. And then Ronda Gadsden is dominating the tight end snaps. Watch to see if Herbert misses next week too. He just had surgery on his hand today, non-throwing hand, but there's a decent chance he misses next week. I would put it at a true 50-50. He will do everything he can to play given where the Chargers are in the season and just given who he is. But if he can't grip the ball to hand it off with his left hand, then major red flag. And then finally, Broncos Commanders just ended here. Went to overtime, so we got a few extra snaps in this game. But RJ Harvey played less than half of the overall Broncos snaps, but he looked good. Got a couple touchdowns, got goal line work. So absolutely love him going forward. Jaleel McLaughlin played the 3rd most of the running backs, but he will have a role. And then interesting, Pat Bryant played the second most receiver snaps. He's a good rookie receiver. They love how well he blocks. So he will have a role going forward just because of how well he blocks. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. If they're in matchups where they can simply just run the football, I think he'll be on the field a lot. Troy Franklin's a better receiver than him. And then Marvin Mims Jr. is back in the lineup too. He's too good of a player not to see some snaps. Only one you can trust week in and week out, and he's still not overall great, is Cortland Sutton. This was a great matchup for him. Obviously, I wrote up a bunch about him on Flurry Sports for this week. Ended up getting a touchdown, looked good. But yeah, overall, this Broncos passing offense, I think, is not great. It should get a little bit better, but we'll see. Commanders, they were chasing points. McNichols played a bunch. Chris Rodriguez is a clear runner of the running backs. Terry McLaurin returned to the lineup, played 46 snaps compared to Debo and Traylon Burks. He'll end up getting his snaps up a little bit here. I mean, obviously, you're not playing Burks over him. Burks had a great touchdown catch, though. Damn. He is not a very good football player, but that was a fantastic catch. But otherwise, nothing overall to take away. You don't need to own any of the running backs for the Commanders. If I'm owning one, it's Chris Rodriguez, but you don't have to. We're at that point in the season. Like, if you're not going to play Chris Rodriguez, then fuck it. Like, who cares? Maybe we'll do a video on how to manage your bench a little bit. Let me know if that's something you want to see, because your bench should be players that you could potentially play if there are injuries ahead of them, or handcuffs. Like, you don't need to own a running back 5 that has no chance to make your lineup. You know what I mean? But other than that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Definitely subscribe. We had videos every single day in November, so if you missed any of them, want to go back and watch any of them, I suggest you go and do so. And we will be back soon. If you're watching this day of, we got the Flurry Sports podcast tonight. It should be a fun one. We'll be talking a little college football, a little NFL. So subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we are live. For that, it'll be around 5:30 Central. And I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Fuck yeah.